Hello everyone, and welcome back to a video that's been in the works for quite some time. Last August and the beginning of last September actually, I was invited to the bench meet of Team Hardware Reactor Reloaded, which is Germany's biggest professional overclocking team. They met up to participate in the then ongoing Team Cup, and somehow I got invited along the way. This was the very first time I met up with other professional overclockers in real life, and also the first time I got to play with liquid nitrogen, and I got to say, it was really fun, and I even achieved some pretty impressive scores. I ended up taking first place, just full up first place for one of the benchmarks. So it was a very great experience. We recorded a whole bunch of things, and because of that, it took a while to edit. I had other projects going on. I briefly went to the Netherlands to launch a rocket. That's a whole different story. Uni happened. Now Arcane happened. So this has been on the back burner for quite some time. And it would have taken even longer if a good friend of mine by the name of Vi didn't step up and edit the footage for me. All the footage from the bench meet was edited by her. I'm just adding the voiceover. So she basically did most of the heavy lifting for this video. So huge thanks to Vi for doing this for me, for making sure this video isn't getting delayed even more. But I don't even want to spend too much time now. I'd like to just start playing whatever happens, and then at the end of everything I'm gonna give a little recap, talk a bit more about things that we didn't catch or that I just like to give some more context to. So, see you back after the end of all the recordings and after this message from our sponsor. I'd like to thank my sponsor, PCBWay. If you are working on a project of your own that requires parts that would be hard to make yourself, or just generally parts at a much higher quality standard, you can go to PCBWay's website and order anything from PCB prototypes, assemblies, CNC parts, 3D printed parts, as well as stencils or even flexible circuit boards. The ordering process is simple. You just upload your files, tell them some stuff that you need, and you'll quickly receive a quote, which once accepted, will mean that your part can get shipped out within as fast as 24 hours. And if you have any questions or require further help, they even have a live chat service that stands ready for you. So if you need some custom-made project parts, don't delay, go to PCBWay today. So, we have arrived. This is my trusty setup with the test bench. We're about to LN2 the first card. It's gonna be the 780 I can't be bothered edition because I have never done LN2. So I don't want to kill the TI. Over here is ASIC with the way more proper setup and a proper laptop. Over there's the main streaming setup. And I need to work with what we have here, and then we have also the graveyard of various things that we're going to bench. The main hopes are on these three. Everything else is basically a bonus. So yeah, also there's a random 480 Lightning over here. They just kind of show up sometimes. Don't ask me how I got it. Definitely not from that guy. So, test is going okay-ish. And, well, the LM2's over there, so stuff's about to start. As always, AMD stands true to its name, advanced malfunctioning devices. The motherboard is retired for now, it won't detect the CPU anymore, so I'm using a 6 backup bench, which is a 10900K and some DJR. And we are finally installing Windows on LN2. We're actually hardcore installing Windows right now. It is already It's 6:30 p.m. We haven't even run a single benchmark yet, and he's not even done setting up yet. We're not sleeping tonight, boys. We're not sleeping. Well, the first thermos of LN2 is in. The second one's almost empty. We are steadily pulling down. We're using almost at -70, so almost time to glaze the thing. We have half an hour until food arrives, so let's do this quick. Ja, kipp mal rein. Ich will es zwischensehen. Oh ja. Oh ja. -88. Tick, tick, tick.
Much faster now.
Tick, tick, tick. And we have reached -256 according to Afterburner. Yeah. God, it's completely frozen over. Too bad. We have a cold boot bug, and it still doesn't wanna. Finally got to make myself useful and mod this GTX 470 that Daisuke e-powered with a prototype of his e-power B3. We originally believed that this card was dead and had like a dead memory module, but when we set it up to find out which one's dead, it just kind of worked, and it's worked until now. So let's hope it keeps working. So I added a memory volt mod to the card and connected some proper forward voltage sense leads so that the e-power can now properly do VCore on the thing. And meanwhile, he's been working on insulating 560 Ti's. So
it's the vanilla 560. 560.
oh, it's a regular 560.
That's the 560 Ti right here.
Yeah, that one's already done.
That's the way it works.
That one's already done. Alright, so I'm benching this one next, and I guess he's doing those. They're still setting up Intel over there for the 780 Ti that has my port on it. So let's see what comes of that. How long I'm gonna have to wait to bench this, because the 480 went pretty good, and this is basically the same thing. So I'm gonna do the same thing and hope it also works. So I'm done benching the GTX 470. Actually turned out to be like really good. It outclocked first place on HW board. Just the score didn't quite get there. I'm third place, very close to second with the card. Good enough, I guess. And yeah, I mean, there's a little bit more potential left in it, but we had to wrap it up. We were running out of LN2 to spend on one card. It chucked down like 10 liters, I think, maybe more. And meanwhile, I've modded this GTX 465, which will be the last card that I bench on LN2. I already have the EVC hooked up and everything. The only problem being it has a controller that shuts down at 1.28 volts VCore, which is lower than the 480 and 470 ran at. The 470 we scaled all the way up to 1.45, and the 480 kind of stopped at like 1.3-ish. So that's a bit of a bummer. You can't really fix that. And another problem is this 560 Ti over here died. One of the memory modules is faulty, so the only remaining 560 Ti at the meet is the one that I brought, which also has a controller that shuts down just like even sooner. This doesn't even get to like 1.2 volts. So we're gonna have to attach an e-power to it, which will be the last project of the meet probably, because this will sink so much time. Alright, here's the last modded card I'm gonna be running here. GTX 465. Already have the EVC connected to it for voltage control, and ASIC's still preparing his 560 Ti 448 core. So yeah, off to the last benching session. This could be it. This could be the one. I gave it 50 more megahertz core, and we need 4 points. We need 4 points. If this is it, come on, give me 716. lost points again. Oh, what do we get? 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 There we go, first place. First place.
Good one.
First place. Ja, wir sind jetzt erster Platz auf HW-Bot. 719. Erster Platz vorher war 700. Mir egal, wir sind erster Platz. First place. First place. First place, I did it. First time using LN2. Gute Karte. Jetzt gute Karte. Brave Karte. Yeah, I just pulled the pot off the card and just like look at that mount. It's so flat. That looks really nice and uniform. So yeah, that's the 465. My little sketchy VC Volt mod on the back. And that's me done for the bench meets. Did the 480, 470, 465 full Fermi 1.0 run. Went pretty well. Better than my attempts at the at this thing that shall not be named. So yeah, I guess I'm tearing down. I'm watching A6 test bench trolling him, killing GTX 560. That's like the third one today, isn't it? Okay, only the second card it killed today.
Well, if it was a third one, it probably died too.
So an SOC died. No, it's the third one. So the SOC died, then the 448 died, and now my spare died as well.
Like this one, see, that one still at least has core voltage, just VMEM's missing.
Yeah, this one's just straight up dead completely.
This one doesn't have any voltages at all.
I mean, yeah, you really EPOW. What do you power? What do you power?
I'm not gonna put the power on that now. Almost 2 a.m.
Yeah, it's really it's time I put my stuff together and get ready for catching my train in a couple hours. So anyway, fun meet. Nice people over here. Nice place. I'm gonna do this again when I have time. And yeah, back to the studio. So that's it for the recordings that I did for the bench meet. It was a decent amount, but there's also a decent amount that I ended up not recording because I just forgot to do it. So I think best would be to just kind of do a recap of what we really did, because you just kind of see us screw around and we're not really explaining much. I ended up benching exclusively Fermi 1.0 cards. So I benched my 480, I benched A6 470, and I benched a 465 from someone else. They brought the card along because it's better than a regular 460. It has more cores, so we used that instead of the regular 460 that I brought along. So those are the cards that I benched. It went pretty well. Honestly, I have to say I thought LN2 would be a lot harder to keep under control. It is a lot easier than Dry Ice. It's more involved than Phase, because Phase you turn it on, you wait until it cools down, and then you just bench. You do need some more control over LN2, and I have to also say I got it a bit easy, because the Fermi 1.0 cards that we had, they all ran into cold slow at around -60, -70, so if you get them colder than that, they bug out. They think they are at like plus 200 degrees, and they go into some failure state where basically they clock all the way down. And you can't undo that until you let the temperature rise a bit again, which unbugs the temperature sensor. There's potentially a way to bypass the temperature sensor. It's not external anymore like on 200 series cards, but there might be some software trick. I don't know it. I don't bench Fermi 1.0 that much, especially that cold. So we just didn't cool them that much down. I kept them mostly at -50, -55, that sort of area. And, you know, that's not super cold for liquid nitrogen. It's about phase territory still. So I had it a bit easy. I didn't have to put that much LN2 in, and basically the pot was almost empty most of the time. I just like put a little sip back in when I saw the temperature started to rise, and that's how it mostly went. But I enjoyed it. It was fun. It's really cool to see like the liquid nitrogen evaporate and all the stuff coming out, and the bubbling, the sound is really cool. So it is a unique experience, and of course it's a lot more tolerable noise-wise than the phase change unit. It's really, really loud. That's the main drawback of the phase. The compressor on it runs all the time, and it's super loud. That is the main issue I have with my phase unit. So yeah, it was cool. And in terms of scores, my 480 ended up in second place, I think, score-wise. It did pretty okay for a random 480. It was modded. And yeah, like I just couldn't quite outclock first place. Actually, did I? Not too sure. The 470 outclocked. I'm not so sure about the 480. But I got second place. I forgot to say the benchmark was always superposition. So we only ran superposition because that was the Team Cup stage. So yeah, I got second place with the 480. Then the 470, that was A6 E-powered one, the one that resurrected itself. It came in with a dead memory module, and because one other person brought like a whole soldering station, we thought, let's just diagnose which memory module it is and like find a donor card and just swap it out. And when we went to test the memory module, it suddenly worked again. Like, it just wasn't throwing errors anymore. And I got the card given to me, I still have it, for the purpose of doing scope shots of the E-Power, because it has A6 new B3 version of his E-Power on it, and we kind of want to see how it behaves under an oscilloscope, so that's an upcoming video. But yeah, I have the card and it still works, so I hope it stays that way. Would be kind of inconvenient if it died. Then the third card, that was a random PNY reference GTX 465, completely stock. It had that annoying NCP controller on it that shut down, so we couldn't quite go super high on vCore, but it didn't seem to affect it much because I got first place with that card, just by a few points, and there weren't that many submissions to be fair, but I got first place. And all I did to mod the card was a quick and dirty EVC mod, like the soldering quality was really bad. And yeah, that was my first time getting a true gold with liquid nitrogen. That was cool. It was great and everything, and I was really proud when we had the big chart of like who did what bench, and I wrote down my scores, and I did the entire Fermi 1.0 stage by myself, with second, third, and first place for the 3 cards, and I was really proud. And then a week later, when I was back home again, I got a message that all my verification screenshots didn't show the motherboard tab, which isn't required for regular HWBot submissions. You only need to show CPU and RAM, but for competitions, it's required. Don't ask me why. That's the rule. Long story short, all my scores are invalid. Because it's superposition, you can't save a score file, but you can't reopen it to show the score window again to take a new screenshot. So, yeah, the same thing happened to ASIC too, by the way, like, because he was the person I asked, just like, hey, should we show motherboard screenshot? And we went to HWBot and read the rules, and it said we don't have to do it, but there's a separate rulebook for competitions that we didn't find. So yeah, that's on me. I should have just put the motherboard tab in just to be sure, and that's what I'm just gonna do for now. I'm just gonna always put it in if I need it or not need it. But yeah, I got the scores. The scores were legit, but I can't officially claim them on HWBot because the motherboard tab wasn't there. That was a bit of a bummer. It didn't seem to do much to damage the team though. Team Cup ended and Hardware Reactor Reloaded got second place. So that's well deserved for them. They were all very nice, supportive people. They were just nice. They let me join the team after. They told me I can come along for the next bench meet, and I plan to do so. So I just want to say here, huge thanks to Hardware Reactor Reloaded for being so tolerable of me, and also thank you to Daisuke, who's the person who invited me to come there. So yeah, just huge thanks to both of them. It was a great experience. It was really cool. It was lots of fun. It was also kind of cool because me and Daisuke showed up with a whole bunch of GPU knowledge, and it seems the team is mostly like a CPU RAM focused team. So it felt to me like we actually got really appreciated for having lots of GPU knowledge. So it felt cool, and I want to do more like it. Sadly, Stuttgart is quite far away from where I live, but if I book the train tickets early enough, I can get there, and it actually wasn't as much of an issue as I thought to bring all my hardware with me. I ended up bringing a lot more than I thought I would, so it's actually not too much of an issue to like move my test bench to the meet. I just can't bring stuff like my water cooling equipment, of course, so that's why the stock Ryzen cooler was on my motherboard, and A6 just had an AIO on it with like one single fan. So yeah, that's mostly what went on, and just a few more things. The random GTX 180 Lightning that showed up, that card was dead. It did have a dead memory module, and basically we got it to figure out what memory module was dead on it, and then the owner took it back. So like, no, I don't own that card, sadly. I witnessed a X299 Apex and a 7980XE unalive themselves in real life. That was fun. Asus has yet again claimed another CPU life by having one of its motherboards go out with a spark, and I mean quite literally, the VCore VRM went short circuit in a bit of an unusual manner. Usually you see 12 volts to VCore, it went 12 volts to ground short. So maybe the CPU is still alive. I'm not so sure. When a power stage dies, a lot of stuff can happen. Just because it doesn't have a 12 volt to VCore short doesn't mean like other things didn't get affected. So that was fun. Especially because they kept trying to turn it on and going like, hey, every time I click the power button, it just turns off. Before me and Daisuke went like, don't click the button, it's short. And we had to bring the multimeter and go like, yep, VCore's blown. So yeah, I don't know what it is with Asus motherboards and killing CPUs and killing themselves. I don't know. They like to do it. It's a long-standing tradition, especially with the X299 Apex. If like it has an 8-phase VCore VRM, which for an 18-core, just no, it's not strong enough. It just isn't. So that was a bit fun. What else? Of course, there was the saga of Daisuke having his cards die. That was quite unfortunate for him. He did a successful score with GTX 770. That went well, and I think he did one 560. I think his regular 560 worked out. And then the Gigabyte SoC 560 Ti he had prepared, that one died. Dead memory module. Then there was a 560 Ti 448 core that also died due to VMem not firing up. And then the backup opportunity, the 560 Ti that I brought, also died completely. I still don't know what's wrong with that card. Just no VR, not a single VRM on it. Just like fires up now. I don't know what the problem is with that card, but like it's completely dead. Yeah, he didn't have a lot of luck with benching, which was probably a bit of a bummer. One more significant hardware death was a B650E Tachyon, a motherboard that, as far as I know, well, actually, I think it officially exists. It's not like the SoC LN2 boards from Gigabyte, but I think they only made like a very limited run of them before making like an X670 Tachyon. So the B650 or B650E or whatever it's called, they're pretty rare. And they had two at the bench meet. When the bench meet was over, they only had one. One of the boards died, and I think it happened because there was some condensation near the chipset or something, and it won't post anymore. There's a decent chance it can be fixed if it just gets cleaned properly, but yeah, that hurt. That was a rare piece of hardware that technically died. Fun. Then we had, of course, that whole escapade with the 780 Ti. So I didn't actually end up benching my 780 Ti, the E-powered Matrix I have. We just didn't have time, and we decided against it because the team already had a pretty decent 780 Ti score. So we rather wanted to focus on scores they didn't have at all, like the Fermi 1.0 scores. So I didn't end up benching my 780 Ti with the E-power. I also didn't end up benching my RX 580. There just wasn't time, and they already had scores, so it was fine. But there was this other 780 Ti, a Gainward. Was it a Gainward Phantom or the Palette Jetstream? One of the two. They have the same PCB, and they brought that card. It was like sort of a random project. It's just like, don't care if it dies. So we went a little crazy on it. We replaced the BIOS with the one from the Gigabyte card, which has like the highest power limit on a 780 Ti that isn't the Kingpin, because the Kingpin BIOS, like, there's some stuff going on with it. I flashed it to other cards before and it went fine, but we decided against using the Kingpin BIOS. We just used the Gigabyte BIOS, which raised the power limit from 270 to 350 watts. So that was fun. And then because that PCB has fuses, which like to blow when you push too much power through them, which happened to me, I have one of those cards as a regular 780, we replaced the fuses with shorts. So when it died, it would die proper. So we did that. We put it on LN2 briefly. It sadly did not do well. Like, it was really crap. Like, the core clock just, it was not good. Like, on air, it was an average card. But on LN2, it didn't even do 1400 core, which my card did on air. So that card was a bit sad. Yeah, we just stopped. It was a bit of an experiment, and like we said, we didn't want to really put any more time into 780 Ti scores, which is a fun side project that we did. I also benched my 780 I Can't Be Bothered edition, though I didn't do any scores with it. I purely used it to just like get a feel for the LN2. It was the first card I did, and I just did it to, like, you know, practice LN2 pouring, keeping the temperature, just kind of like testing out the setup before we go to something that actually needs scores. And the card also kind of did badly. Because as it turns out, I don't know why, it was fine on my phase, but the card has a cold boot bug. So if it crashes, or if you restart the system, it will just black screen. It will not post. You need to warm it back up for it to post, which is really annoying. That's really bad. Actually, I think I have an idea of why my face never did this. It has to do with the mounts, because the mounts were crap. I have a separate video about this coming. I noticed after the bench meet just how crap my face mounts were. And I also learned something about the amount of thermal paste you need to do. So traditionally, you always get told that with extreme overclocking, you just want to use as much thermal paste as physically possible, because you would just want to fill every void there is with thermal paste, even the tiny gap of air around the chip where like the little multi-layer ceramic capacitors are. You want to fill that with thermal paste too, because that gives you that little bit more of conductivity than having it be air. That's the conventional wisdom, that's the mindset I went in with. And I noticed that that's just kind of wrong. Doesn't mean it's always wrong. It has to come from somewhere, and there's probably cases where it does work. But for graphics cards, I noticed that less is more. So we used Cryonaut Extreme from Thermal Grizzly, which is a very nice, expensive thermal paste, so we didn't want to use too much of it. So what we ended up doing is put on as little as we could, pre-spread it so it just covers, but like leave the amount as low as possible. And that resulted in some really good mounts. We didn't get that extra effect of filling the air gap, that the everything around the chip was not covered in thermal paste, but the actual contact area was super clean. There's this one clip in the video where you can see me take the pot off, and that was one of the worst mounts. Like, that wasn't the best one we had. We just had really good mounts where when you pull them off, you can see the surface of the die and the surface of the LN2 pot very clearly through the very, very thin layer of thermal paste. And that's something I just don't get on my phase. On my phase, I always have a very noticeable thick layer of thermal paste left. And yeah, that's probably why my phase mounts suck. And I never noticed this before because, of course, I've never seen proper LN2 mounts before. And I didn't know that Fermi 1.0's temperature sensor actually works below zero in superposition. I don't know why the MSI Afterburner GPU Z1 breaks, but the temperature readout in superposition actually looks like it's working, like perfectly fine, as long as you don't go into cold slow. Because the pot was saying something like -55, and superposition was saying something between -50 and -53. That's what you expect from like a really good mount on like a lower power graphics card. And yes, I counted GTX 480 as a lower power graphics card. Like, Fermi 1.0 is nowhere near as bad as we remember. And yeah, and I did the same thing on my phase with the same card and the same OS. And the phase was saying -55, but the card was saying -20. So yeah, that's a really crap mount, is what I'm taking away from that. So yeah, that's my main problem with the phase and the noise. And there will be a whole nother video about that. I developed some 3D printed mounting brackets, which are just better than the universal one that's included. And there will just be a video about that, just so, yeah, just like stay tuned for that. Back to the bench meet. So, is there anything else left to say? I don't really think so. I think I said everything. I don't want to have this video go on for too long. So, yeah, I suppose that's it. And if they ever do another one, expect me to be there if I have time. And hopefully don't forget to put the motherboard tab in the verification screenshot that next time. And until then, goodbye.